Everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. And just want to introduce, and I'm going to create hopefully an art project. I'm going to be playing with some mixed media. I'm going to be playing with texture pastes. I've never used them before. I just tried this out for about a half an hour before I got on and started filming, just to make sure that this would work as I thought it would. Sorry, I'm just going to adjust that angle just a little bit. There we go. So again, my friend Matt from Mr. Matt Mixed Media has created some beautiful artwork. And when I saw these, I'm not sure how well, I'm hoping they're coming through. I have some artwork that I bought at an auction when I was on a cruise. Got suckered in there. Watch for it, but it is artwork that I love. And it's basically like I think it's acrylic paint, but done with like with palette knives and things like that. So they're really beautiful scenes. And when I saw these, like when he created them and then was showing me some of the artwork that he had, I had an idea on what I would like to do with these to kind of make them more textural. So again, this is digital art that he has created, but I want to zhuzh it up. So I'm not an artist to kind of paint and do those kind of things, but usually I can take a framework and then go from there kind of thing. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. So here are just a couple of the images. So this is the first one. So it's just beautiful with these sunflowers. There's another one. Look at how gorgeous that is, right? It's just lovely. So, and you can do either way. Doesn't matter. I mean, it's up to you. So, and these were just printed on photo paper, glossy photo paper from on my Canon printer. This is an 8.5 by 11 sheet. I just changed the size to do what size I wanted to do. So you can buy the like the digital download and then print them out to your heart's content. There's 20 images in the set. And then here's another one. Like, look at it. Isn't that pretty? And then in order to get them to stay, so that, because sometimes I find that my black, the toner ink will rub off a little bit on my fingers. I actually just gave them a spray with some hairspray, like a kind of like Aquanet in the day, just a little bit of hairspray there. This is the image that I'm going to work with today to show you what I'm doing. But here's what I was playing with just to see if it was going to work or not. Because again, I've never played with it before. So this is another image. I believe this one is image number 6. And I'm going to show you basically how I went about doing this. So these are just canvases that I got from the Dollar Tree. So this one's let me see here, 8 by 8 size. I have a circular one, and then I have an 8 by 10 size. So I'm going to show you how I stuck it down, and I'm going to start with that part of the procedure and then move through the steps and everything. And then I'm going to finish playing, mixing up the colors and stuff and playing on this particular one. Okay. So I'm going to put that to the side. So this is the canvas that I got. It's an 8.5 by 11. Nope, sorry, I'm wrong. 8 by 11. 8 by 10 size. So you can see here that my photo will just fit onto there, basically, right? Now, what I did, because I know that sometimes my cutting is a little wonky, or just to give myself that extra little bit of wiggle room if I don't get it stuck down just right, I went and I painted all of the edges just using some black acrylic paint. I just went in and painted it all so that when I trim it down, I can actually finish off that edge so that the white is not seeing. So I just did that. So you just don't have to watch paint dry literally, right? But you can see here, I've done the same thing. So it gives it a nicer finished edge, and it gives you an opportunity to not have to have it perfect. Because you can go in and fix it basically. Okay. So first thing first, move this out of the way here. Uh, Now, I believe that you probably could take the back of your paper here. So this is image number 5. Look at, I was sensible and actually wrote that down. This is image number 5 from the set. I didn't notice that I wrote the other ones down though on here on the back. Nope, I did not, because that would have been the sensible thing to do. But so I didn't do it. Now, I think technically you could use a glue stick on the back of your paper here and then stick it down to your canvas. But because I want a pretty decent adherence or adhesion, I'm going to use Mod Podge, which is a water-based glue. This is, I think it's like 2 parts white glue, 1 part water, or it might actually even be 1 to 1. So if you're mixing your own with just Elmer's white glue, same thing. But I usually get this, the large jar, because I use this for when I'm doing napkin cards, um, all of those kind of things. I do prefer usually to get the matte, because I can add glitter to it or something like that. I don't always want something to be shiny. And I have other things that I can add if I need it to be shiny. So I tend to, oh, oof, should try to open that before I went on camera. I tend to use the matte. I just find that really nice. You can get small jars of Mod Podge from places like Dollar Tree or something like that, but your best value actually is probably from like Walmart, depending on where you're at, is probably one of your big box stores. You want to get it before winter though, because it can't be frozen because there is, it's water based, so it'll freeze pretty much solid. I just get mine from Michael's, and whenever there's a 40% off coupon that comes out, I'll go pick up some Mod Podge. Okay. So I have my handy dandy paintbrush here that I like this size. This is the size that I typically use for Mod Podge because it gets nice, good, clean coverage. Um, Carries it pretty far. So the important thing while you're doing this is you want to make sure that you're getting coverage right to the corners and right to the edge, because you want your paper or your image to adhere right to the edge. And I'm going to do a fairly, not thick, but a reasonable coating of it. Because your the canvas will absorb some of the liquid, etc. So you want to make sure that you are getting a pretty good thick coat. Again, right out to the edge. Now, Mod Podge will also dry clear, so it won't, particularly this one, will dry clear, so it won't matter. And especially because I did get the matte one, it's not going to matter if I have like a bit of adhesive or Mod Podge hanging over the edge here, or coloring onto my black. It's fine because it will, essentially, it'll just disappear. It'll dry clear and absorb into the canvas, no problem, or the paper. I'm gonna have to get my fingers a little goopy. All right. Let's see here. So I'm just checking to make sure in the light that that the entirety of my canvas is wet. I don't want to miss any part of my canvas here because that's what's going to adhere my artwork to it, right? So I want to make sure that it is a reasonably well done. Okay, so now I know that this is pretty thin to the edge here. So I want to make sure I haven't got a ton of wiggle room to get right to the edge for my image. That one's good on that side. Because again, the image is printed onto an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, but so that only gives me a 1/2 inch wiggle room all the way around. So I've stuck down best of my ability. It doesn't have to be perfect. Again, I'm going to show you how to go in and make any corrections that we need to make. Okay. And so, and I hit that pretty decently, but I do want to make sure that I'm smoothing it out. And then I'm going to put something heavy on top of this to just kind of hold it in place, okay? To give it a time for the paper to adhere to the canvas. So give me 1 second, I'll be right back. I'm just going to take this on right here and get it out. All right. Okay, I'm back. Thank you for your patience. All right, so that is technically that's step 2, because the first step was painting. Well, actually, first step is choosing your artwork of what you want to use, printing it out, etc. Step 2 was painting basically the edges of my canvas. Step 3 was putting the artwork onto the canvas. First step, like adhering so that it's attached. Then we come to step 4. Okay, so this is actually a circular canvas, and it is, I want to say it's about, yeah, it's 8 inches in diameter. Yeah, diameter, I'm pretty sure is straight across. So 8 inches. And I have already stuck it down and I started trimming it so you guys didn't have to watch me do all of it because it can be a bit of a tedious process. But essentially what I've done here is sometimes you can pull and do like use a sanding block. I didn't find that that worked too great with this because the paper, it's again, it's photo paper, so it is a little thick. So what I figured out um, that I thought would work is I'm going to take an X-Acto knife. So this is a self-healing cutting mat, and I am coming around the edge. So I'm taking an X-Acto knife, being very careful to keep my fingers away from the edge. And I'm just going to start to make some slices because this one, it's a little more complicated than the square or the rectangular ones that I have, just because, it's hard to get a good edge on a circle, right? And so when I was doing this earlier, I actually managed to cut off a little bit of the cardboard, which was, of course, not what I was wanting to do. And then, what am I going to do? Well, handy dandy crafty tool that a lot of people don't think about is get yourself either a permanent black ink pad, like some, and I don't know about pigment ink just because it's stays wet for so long. But what I have is, let's put that to the side here. So I'm just moving my self-healing cutting mat out of the way. So you can see here where I've got kind of the white edge. So this is where I had already done it and I fixed my boo-boos. But here you can see the white edge. Okay. Not the end of the world, but there is something that we can do that will fix that. Introducing a really awesome thing for correcting boo-boos. So this is a Bic marker, a Jiffy marker, same thing. Anything that is a permanent marker. Um, and I did black again because black is the easiest to hide and to cover over, right? So you can see here where I've got this white edge. So now all I'm going to do from the back, I'm going to hold my pen. Sorry, I'm not sure if I'm in front of it. There we go. I'm going to hold my pen from the back and I'm going to just drag it along the edge like so and allow it to tint and color any of the paper that I missed, because the paper also would have a white core, right? So it's because we cut it, it's not going to have the colored edge right to the edge. So it would still show this white all the way around. I don't want that because I have the black to the edge. So I can come in here. See, this is a place where I cut out a weensy bit of a divot there. So I can just come along here and color that in. So instead of the cardboard showing, I'm just making it black, same as when I painted it, so that it will match all the way around. So and it adds a nice finished edge. So here's another place where I cut off the cardboard instead of just getting the paper because I wanted a nice close edge, right? So because I wanted a nice close edge, I just had to get, what do we got there? Oh, good. Okay. So this is going to allow me to show you an extra bit of a boo-boo. So don't do that. That's a accident waiting to happen. Okay. So right here, you see it's lifting just a bit. So I'm going to take my X-Acto knife and I want to come underneath this edge here. And I'm just going to kind of peel it away. Anything that's that extra overhang. Because we have the opportunity to correct it now, but if we leave it, you won't have that opportunity. Once you've finished, you don't want to have to be fussing once you've put in all of this effort, right? That would, well, okay, I don't want to. Maybe you want to, but I would much prefer to finish my futzing at this point in time. Okay, so before I stab myself, I'm going to put that there. And now I have a little sanding block here, and that edge where I peeled off the edges, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but there's a bit of some paper overhang, like, it's just a couple of fibers. So I'm just going to take this off to the edge And just drawing my sanding block down like this, I'm going to sand off, kind of buff off that bit of the edge there, just so that it is a little bit smoother. And then, unfortunately, my sanding block makes such a mess. So I'll just kind of clean that up there. All right. And I'm going to give that a bit of a wipe with my finger. And so you can see now I've got a bit more white here. All I need to do is, again, come in with my Sharpie or Jiffy marker or whatever you've got that is a permanent. So usually that means solvent based, right? Uh, so you could use, if you only have an ink pad, you could actually chalk the edges here, if you want, like kind of that distressing edge moment. You could do that with archival ink or StazOn ink. But again, you do want it to be a permanent based ink, not something that's water based. Um, Even pigment isn't great. And come in here, just make sure I'm darkening up those edges. All right. Now, if this was like square or something like that, and I had like the one that I just used the Mod Podge on, let's say that when I went to go and cut off my edges, I didn't get it on there quite right. So there's a white line or something like that. What I could do is take some mint tape, do a straight edge, and drag my like do my Sharpie across there because it's photo paper, so it will hold the ink. Okay. So look at how beautiful this image is. So this one is sunflowers with some peonies, which peonies are some of my favorites. I love tulips and peonies are my favorite flowers. So now I could leave this just like this, and I think it would be fine. But because I did on the other one, I sealed it with Mod Podge, I'm going to do the same thing. So the important thing is, again, you want to get right to the edge, but because you're doing this on top and it's a final coat, you want to make sure that you're also just doing it in one direction, or you have to finish in that direction anyways. Right? Because otherwise you'll see the difference in the brush strokes, and that's not always attractive. You can catch the edge like that. There. And here. So this also gives an extra opportunity in case your first coat of Mod Podge did not fully adhere, especially on the edges here. Gives you a moment to try and correct that. Like you can get a little bit of, if an edge is lifting, kind of lift it up a little bit, put some Mod Podge more under there. More under there. That's not good English. Anyway, put a little bit more under, and then you have an opportunity to confirm that it's, that you've got really good adhesion. And should I put the edge here, right up to the edge? And you can see I'm making an effort to drag my brush and make sure that my brush strokes are all going in the same direction. Now, the interesting when you're doing napkins and things like that, you can't do that because you'll really tear the paper. But because this has already been built, mostly adhered to your canvas, it should be, I didn't have a problem. I'm not doing a ton of pressure on it, but I want to make sure, like I said, that my edges are good, but also that in case I'm going to get brush strokes, I want them all going kind of in the same direction. Righty. Okay, and this time I'm actually going to hit pause because I got to go stick my brush in some water because while it's water soluble, I also don't want it getting stuck in my good brush. So I will be right back momentarily for you guys. Okay, so hopefully that worked. If not, this is going to be a very weird video for you. Okay, so I've just finished tidying up a little bit, wiped off my glass mat, got the Mod Podge, and just kind of cleaned up and gave myself a little bit more space. Now, the two products that I'm going to be playing with today, and I've never used them before. So this is literally, well, just before I started doing the video, I pulled out a few things to see if it would work before I started recording. This was a little too out of my wheelhouse to just totally wing it. So I'm only mostly winging it today for you. I'm a little out of whack there. Okay, so the first one that I'm playing with is these are Ranger Distress Texture Paste. This one is opaque. So that means it's going to dry almost like frosted. You won't be able to see through it. Okay, so that means it's yeah, so you'll add color and it will add texture. And so I'm going to add color to it. And so you can sort of see here the areas where, like, for example, let's move my finger here, right there. There's some texture there, but you can't see through it, right? Versus this one. This one is also another distressed product, which I think this one's kind of new. This is a texture paste and it's Twinkle, and it's a translucent gloss paste with a little bit of glitter flecks in it because how can you go wrong with glitter? So in this particular one, those are like you can see here where I did the orange, so you can see some of the color behind it. So I tinted it, but there's glitter and then you can see through it like this strand right here. You can actually see the orange color behind it. Okay, so those are the two that I'm going to be playing with today. Now, my understanding of how to use these items is that you can add any kind of to color them or to tint them or to yeah, if you want to add basically you want to add color, is that you need to use anything that is dye based. So you can use dye based re-inkers, you can use dye based inks. I used some spray stain. I also used some distressed mica stain. That's what I used for the three colors that I already did. I did some oranges and some yellows. So now what I want to move on to is I'm going to move on to some of the blues. And I'm going to start with, I had actually mixed out four different colors and they dried a little quick. So good to know, good tip is to only use maybe do two colors at a time, maybe not four because it got to be a bit much. Um, and because the other thing too is once you pull this out, you can't put it back in. As soon as you add like color to it, you can't add it back in because it'll tint the rest of it and contaminate it. So the two colors, so the other thing that I had to do because I wasn't sure what my colors would look like in terms of what would actually match my photo, right? So I want my colors to sort of match enough that I can add just texture in the places that I want to add texture, right? So I pulled out, I just did a quick swatch. So these are my Elements by Lavinia inks. So I stamped them out. So the color that I used in the for the orange, sorry, for the yellow was the Sundance. I also used fossilized amber into one of the other yellows. And then I added in some of these micas, but I wanted to see which ones that I have that would actually coordinate. So you could also use anything that you have that is a dye-based ink or even a re-inker would work to mix with these. So because these are the things that I have, that's what I'm going to be using. But please check your stash. You don't need to go out and buy new things for this. Check and see what you've got. The only thing you might have to get is some texture paste, possibly. Um, that might be the only thing. The other thing that I did need to get, because I didn't have any, which seemed kind of strange, really, but truthfully, I don't do a ton of mixed media. It's a very new thing for me. I went to the Canadian dollar store, Dollarama, and just got a set of metal palette knives for mixing and for doing the slashing, whatever the heck you want to call it. Okay. So yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to start with the blues. I'm going to mix the opaque one first, and then I'll go in and do some twinkle, some of the opaque one. Nope, sorry, translucent. I'm going to start with the opaque one. All right. So in order to do this, make sure you have a clean surface first. That's important. Okay. So the first thing that I want to do is I'm going to add some color down to my glass mat. Okay. And I'm going to do another one over here. And, okay. Yeah, what I want to do is I'm going to open this. You can see it's kind of thick, like a toothpaste, I guess I would think. And I'm gonna pull out one of the palette knives and I'm gonna pull out, well, there's not as much of the blue on there, so maybe I won't do super too much. Okay, and I'm gonna put that kind of near my smudgy of ink there, right? Yeah, put the other blue one away. Okay, so I'm gonna do that one there. All right. And then I'm gonna rub this, not rub it off, but I'm gonna clean off that. Okay, and now I'm going to mix these together, not mix them together, but I want to mix them. So I'm going to bring out another palette knife to kind of help me with that. So now what I want to do is I'm going to scrape this up and I'm just going to start pushing it around into my ink here. Like this. I think I'm in frame. Yeah, I am in frame. Okay. And so you pick it up. So you kind of move it through your ink to pick up all of the color. Smoosh it through, and then I'm going to take this off of here like so. And then I'm going to switch it and I'm going to put it back down. And I'm going to continue to move that in and around, kind of bumping it out, making sure that I get a good, pretty decent mix. Now, it's not going to be the end of the world if it's not perfectly mixed because there is some lighter colors in this rose. So that's fine. Okay. So I'm going to leave that one there for now because I think I can actually just get started with this. So now what I'm going to do, and again, this for me was a bit of a work in progress. It was kind of having a learning process. As I said, I've never done this before. So now what I'm going to do is I have a little bit kind of squidgied on the end of my palette knife here. So I'm going to take that off and I'm almost going to pick and pull small amounts off of here. And I'm going to lay it down kind of like this and then pull it. And it's going to add that nice little pop of texture. Oop, that might be too far down. I'm trying not to get my photo into the extra that's left there. So, and I'm just kind of matching it into the places where some of that color is. And just adding again a little bit off of the knife. Now again, I am not an artist. I am not perfect at this. This is me giving it a go for the first time. And truthfully, I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. I have a few things as well that I'm going to continue to do with it, but I'm so far pretty happy. I think I'm hoping that these will turn out well enough because I have a friend who really blue is her favorite color and just loves flowers. And so I'm hoping I can actually make this a Christmas gift for her. Couple of really nice photos for their home or for Habib or hubby. All right, so I'm pulling in some of these colors again, and you don't have to touch everywhere. Not every place has to have texture. It's nice to have a little bit, but it doesn't have to be fully saturated with the texture, right? Because again, it's a flat piece, so I'm not looking to take over from the artist. I'm just looking to add a bit of zhuzh to it, if that makes sense. I'm assuming it does, but sometimes you just never quite understand what I'm saying. Right. Okay, and then so I'm fairly happy with kind of the places that I've hit here. See, in this one, like some of this is already dry, which is amazing, right? Which is why, again, I recommend not doing really particularly big, like big chunks or doing too many colors because you won't be able to get to them, and then it'll just dry, and you won't, then you've wasted your material, which is, I don't know. I mean, sometimes if you're like me, I have so much material, does it matter how much I wasted? I mean, I don't know. Sometimes. But yeah, so again, I'm mostly just going to be adding in. I want this to have like, like when you put your fingers on it, it feels cool to touch. Cool, weird, whatever. Some people like to touch things with texture, some people don't. I think that it looks nice, and instead of it just being flat, there's nothing wrong with it being flat, but instead I want it to have a little bit of depth and dimension so that it adds added interest, right? That's the difference that takes our cards when we're making cards. That's what makes them pieces of art. People didn't want that. They would just go they could go to Hallmark or they could go to the dollar store or whatever. I mean, they'd certainly save a lot if they were going, truthfully, for as a card maker. I mean, I'd save a lot if I could do the dollar store stuff instead. But I like it to be special. And so, this is lovely and thoughtful, and I think it's going to turn out pretty darn cool as it is. All right, so I clearly mixed too much of the light blue, but that's all right. Okay, so pretty happy with, and can I smoothing that out a bit? Smoothing that out. So, and you do have a little bit of playtime, not playtime, but like time to move it about a little bit if you need to. All of you that are not from Canada are probably laughing at me because I just said about. Mm. It's funny because I don't hear it when other Canadians say it, but um, well, unless they're from out east, it's a very definite thing from out east. But it is something about how we hit on that syllable for that just ends up being pretty funny. Now, this is water soluble, so I can go in. So you can see here that I'm going to wipe it off with a baby wipe, but if I'm going to spray this when I go to move to another color, I can spray my glass mat and it will work itself up from there. So soap and water cleanup won't be too bad. But in order to not contaminate my the other color here, I'm going to wipe off my tools, and I'm just going to pull off what's left here, and I'm just using a baby wipe. So pull off what's left on here. There we go. So I've used this one already. So I want to pull over a different nozzle. It's not a nozzle, different type of head. Try and do a different one with the other, with the darker blue here. So I'm just going to move that off to the side here while I work at moving in my color. And again, so I'm just going to continually like kind of drag the paste through the ink so that it picks it all up. Like that. And then I'll scrape that off. That's where all of the ink is going to be, is kind of on the brush and into the, I want to make sure that I'm moving that paste all the way, sorry, the ink all the way through the paste. Okay. Wow, I think it's going to be actually a pretty cool, pretty darn close color match. All right, so let's pick that up a bit there. So, yeah, we're going to pull this in, pull the big flower to the side here, because that's going to be the main focal. So I've got a bit here onto my palette knife, and I'm going to kind of go in like so and drag. Kind of following a bit of the petals, squeeging a little bit onto my knife and putting it down and then pulling. Squeeging a little onto the knife, putting it down, and then pulling. And I don't know how many more times I'm going to have to say that in this video. Putting a bit onto my knife, squeeging it down, and pulling. And if you want, like if it's going into an area where you don't want it, you can use your finger to wipe it up a bit. That works just fine. You can also use the edge of the palette knife too. Don't recommend pulling in like a baby wipe unless you've got like a huge squidgy that you need to pick up kind of thing, because you might end up picking up. Well, I did seal this with the Mod Podge, so it'd probably be okay, but um, you might be taking a bit of a chance that way. Mm. So now I'm basically just going in and just seeing where do I feel called to add in the other color. Using different edges if I can. And again, like I said, I am not an artist. This is the very first time I've actually even used palette knives. So, this is it's fairly forgiving if you're willing to treat it like an art project. It's not meant to be, you're practicing, you're learning, you're you're gonna work with it and just have some fun. Like what can you figure out? What can you learn? What can we try today, right? It's another different way of using your supplies, right? Hopefully you've got a lot of this stuff. I don't know about you guys, but I didn't even have to buy the canvases because I have so many canvases just from ooh, I might be able to do this project, or I had an idea and then, canvas might have been sitting there for a while or whatever. This a bit this way. So I'm seeing a little bit of the darker blue down here. So I'm going to pick up a little bit more and kind of scoot it there. So, a little bit too much there. Okay, and then a little bit here. And a little bit in there. And a little bit in the edges here. In the center of this one. So Matt asked me, because he's creating these beautiful pieces of digital art, and the reason why I'm coming through and doing these projects and stuff like that is because it's oftentimes people will see something and just be like, oh my God, that's so beautiful, but what would I do with it? Um, I have the same thing. Just as I said, though, when I saw this, it made me think of some artwork that I already have at home. And not that I thought, oh, I'm going to be such an artiste and I can, but it's like I think I can lay some paint down and kind of work with that. I start from scratch? I don't really think so. Um, but I can take this and add detail to it in the way that I like, and I think I want to bump that away from that a little bit there, because I'm just gonna stick my piece in there. I like that bit of color. And I want to add a little bit to this rose up here. Oops, a little bit too much. I seriously overestimated how much blue I was going to need in this dark. That's okay. Now, this wasn't even all that expensive. I think I paid $10 for it. And you can clearly see that quite a bit, or a little bit, can go quite a long way. All right, so let me see now. Just in a second here, I'm gonna pick this up and see if there's any areas that I feel I haven't hit with the new blue color. Well, I think that's pretty good. I think I've got it pretty well, change. You always want to lift and like change out the perspective, right? So even now you're starting to see that little bit of extra zhuzh to it, lifting some of the color. So now I'm gonna move that to the side here and I'm gonna scrape off and I'm gonna pick this up. Whoop. Okay, pick that up and I'm going to actually I'm gonna do this one first. Sorry, guys, excuse me. Righty. Do this. All right. Now, if I wanted to, I could use my heat it tool to dry that, but I think I'm okay to continue playing. So as I said, I'm gonna pick this up. I'm just using some water from my distress sprayer bottle. And I'm going to work it around on my glass mat here just to make sure that it's loosening all of the particles of the um, uh, texture paste. Okay, I'm going to wipe that off so I don't cross-contaminate. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to go Squeaky, squidgy, squeaky, squeaky. Mm, it's almost like you get this like fabric texture here that seems to be left behind. It's kind of interesting when I was cleaning up from the orange and the yellow that I did. All right, so now we're going to play with, and I can use that a little bit more still too. So I'm going to make sure, get on my, they're all clean here. Yep. Good. Okay. So now I'm going to play with the twinkle and I'm going to use some mica distress sprays. So it's been a minute since I pulled these out and I bloom and love them. So mica distress sprays are essentially a dye-based spray. Well, you can see I've got a bit of texture paste on me now. It's a dye-based spray, much like the spray stains, except for it also has the same color tinted mica in it. So when you're shaking it, you need to shake it till you hear the ball bearing in the bottom of it. And I highly recommend shaking it from side to side like this instead of up and down, because you don't want to force those mica particles up into the sprayer, because that's a really good way to get your sprayer jammed. Okay. Oh, and I don't think I told you the colors that I used. So, yeah, for the orange and the yellow, I use Sundance as my ink, as well as fossilized amber for the opaque. And then in the twinkle, I used a mix on one of them of the Harvest Moon and Flickering Candle mica spray. And then to the fossilized amber, I also added a little bit of Jack-o'-lantern, which is a beautiful orange. It's very pretty. I don't even like orange, and I can seriously say that it's pretty. So then for the blue, I used Blue Lagoon, which is the darker, slightly darker blue, and then Blue Atoll. Those were my two ink pads. And then to go into the twinkle paste or the twinkle texture paste, I'm going to use Snow Flurries, which is this lighter blue color, and Winter Frost, which is this really beautiful kind of a deep bluish color. It's going to be so pretty, so pretty. Okay, so I'm going to open this one up here and pull out some, and I'm going to move that. Yeah, it's going to be too much. I don't need that much. Okay, that actually pull a little bit of that and it's kind of deep. Yep, still too much. There we go. All right. And I'm going to close that. Now, because I'm going to be mixing another color, I'm not going to put any on it right away here. But if I was sealing this up and I wasn't going to get back to this for a couple of days, I would use some Glad press and seal. Sorry, let me turn that around here. Some press and seal for you guys to reseal the jars from the top, because then really no air gets into them. Yeah, definitely want to make sure that they're being well sealed. Okay, so first one first is I'm going to pull out, and I'm just going to do it from this because I don't want to spray and then get mica everywhere, because it literally does go everywhere. So I'm going to pull this out and I'm going to kind of swidge it from the um, sprayer onto my glass mat. And because this has already got, so there is dye in this, obviously, but it's also been mixed with water. I'm going to add a decent amount. I'm going to add a decent amount down, basically. And then also the same with the winter frost here. And I'm going to squeeze it and put it down. And I want this to be a fairly deep, again, and quite intense color. So I am going to add, it's actually not a lot. It just seems like a lot, but I'm going to do a few scoops on that. Because again, I'm just using it from the dipper of the bottom of a sprayer. So it's not like I'm getting super great coverage. Now, in the same way that I was doing this before, I'm going to pull this over and I'm going to start to run my texture paste I want to mix it into the liquid. So this is going to thin out the texture paste a little bit, because obviously there was water in my in the spray stains, right? So it does change up the texture a little bit, but that's okay. It's still workable. It dried really great. The color when I did it with the oranges and the yellows came out beautiful. So should be it'll be fine. But what's nice about that is it does give me just a weensy bit more playtime with it then too, before it dries out on me. Okay. So for this color, I think I'm going to use this same um, palette knife here. So I'm going to pull this over and I'm going to start again at the big flower here. Pardon me. Sorry, guys. And I'm going to take the most of it off of the bottom so far. And I'm going to pick some up and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to push it and squidge it down. And again, remember, this one is going to dry somewhat opaque. So it'll still have the tint to it, but it's going to dry opaque and with a bit of a shimmer because of the mica that we added, but also because it has a bit of glitter in it, right? It's a very cool thing. It's a very cool product. So far, I'm liking how it's playing on my surface here. So because I do want a little bit of shine to the texture paste, the opaque one, I am going in and around the other ones that I have put down, kind of going over parts of it. So again, that will also give a little bit of depth to the texture paste that I already put down, the opaque one, because it will because this is thinner, it sets into the grooves of the texture paste. So some of it will dry opaque, and some of it will dry a little bit slightly lighter color, but with some shine to it. So again, it makes it again adding some interesting visual interest, which is what we like to do as a crafty person. I like to add some visual interest. Keeps life interesting. Right? So let's pick that up there. No, I'm not picking it up. Into the center. A little bit here, a little bit here. Now you can also, you don't have to go over the areas where you've already put your texture paste. You can go into other areas. So for example, I can hit some of this white on the petal here that I haven't hit yet. Okay, that'd be a little bit more. Come in with my finger, wipe that area up so that it's just in that single area. And pull this in, and I like this has a nice area there. Kind of add that with the petal right there, and I can get this to the edge of my palette. Okay, I'm pretty happy. Oh, there's some right there. Blue right. So I think now, don't quote me again because as I've said, I don't typically, this is my first time playing with this kind of medium, first time really playing with palette knives as well. So I believe though that like I could change to the other one of the other knives that has a slightly different head, and I might be able to get a different well, I should be able to get a different pull from it, but it would have a different kind of edge possibly to it. I don't know. I think, but don't quote me because I don't really know. But if you are looking for somebody who does that I have seen, I mean, Tim Holtz is brilliant with his texture paste. That's a great person to watch. Who else have I seen? I think I've seen Jennifer McGuire using texture paste, but don't quote me on that. I could be wrong on that one. I don't know. That's an iffy one. Well, I'll get some of this lighter blue in here where these areas look a little purpley. Some here. Ooh, and we did get that space. And okay, there still. 18. And what you'll notice too is you're looking at different things from different changing up the angle, which is why I'm kind of making an effort to spin the my piece of art here is because you'll get it from different angles and you're like, oh, that could really use a piece of a little bit of extra color, a little bit of extra pop there. I haven't hit it with anything yet, so maybe I want to try and get that in there instead. Okay, so I want to pick this last little bit up. And I'm going to pop that onto the back of this palette knife so that I can scrape the last little bit off. So I'm actually doing pretty good with the amount that I mixed here. I'm pretty happy with that. And I think I've got like a really nice area of blue there. But oh yeah, right there. It's a cool couple of leaves that are kind of bluey green. I could use a see bit shine. That. And okay, that's gonna get the darker blue, maybe. Put some of this lighter blue over top of that too, I think. Yep. Okay. And let's see. Sorry guys, I'm just super focused here. Sorry about that. I sometimes forget to oh yeah, right, I should be talking. When I'm focused and then I'm like, okay, I'm still picking it up and putting it down, putting it up, and smushing it down. Not much to tell you other than that. Picking it up, smushing it down, picking it up, smushing it down. You might get a little tired of picking it up, smushing it down. Anyway, okay, so I feel like I've got a pretty good coverage. So again, I'm going to kind of pick it up and have a looky. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that because I am going to come in with that last color. So now I'm just going to clean off my palette knives, give them a wipe down. And two. And of course, at the end of the session, I would highly recommend, like when you're finished, this isn't obviously using a baby wipe is not the best for your tools for all day. So like go make sure you give it a good wash with soap and water, etc. Is the best plan, I would say. Great tea. There we go. All right. Putting that down. Now I want to come in and I am going to be using I want to use the smaller one for this darker color. So while I'm mixing, I'm going to move this out of the way so that I don't stick my elbow or something else into it. And I'm going to use the smaller one and I'm going to start pushing that. Again, I'm going to push my paste into the color. So I want to make sure that I'm bringing in the color, I'm mixing it around, squishing it up. Mm, Squeegee that off. I'm going to pick that up. Make sure again that all the color, so by picking it up, I can scrape up anything that is left of the color off of my glass mat. And I can put it down and make sure that it gets, see, because there's a little bit, I'm not sure if you can see that, but there's a little bit of white from the texture paste still in there that hasn't been mixed. So it was picked up from the bottom. So now I can make sure I'm squeeging it around. So I'm going to pick up a little bit, put it on my palette knife here and come in. And I'm going to start again with the big rose, which is the focal point kind of the blue. And I'm going to pick some up and I'm going to put it down. And this is a slightly darker color. So I can come in some of the areas where I had the darker of the two blues on the opaque, but I can also come in on some of the darker shades of the blue on the rose. And that should present some really pretty shine to it, right? When this dries. Nothing like the sound of scraping metal on metal, right? Little on point for nails on chalkboard almost. Little bit, it's coming close to that. But that's okay. It's going to give a cool effect. So sometimes we suffer just a wee bit for our art, right? Sometimes. Right. Like that. And I also want, ooh, pretty good. Okay. Now, I also want to make sure that I am getting, because there are some really cool dark points in the center of these sunflowers that I want to make sure I am catching to get a bit of shine, right? Add a little bit on top of that first color of blue, the opaque, but I also want these little areas that have the shine. Because the other thing that would be really cool, I don't know if I'll do it or not, I might, but if you have any kind of like, what are they, like pearls, like a brown seedless bead or something, seedless, like a, what is it called? Like a holeless bead. Um, yeah, they're tiny, tiny non-pearls, maybe that's what they're called. Hmm. If I can think of it, if it comes to mind, I will likely just like shout it right out. But on here, I could actually add some glossy accents into the center, kind of flood it, and then I can put in those the like the nonpareils, which will look like a which will then look like sunflower seeds, right? It's a very cool effect. A friend of mine does that on her cards. She did these beautiful, beautiful sunflower cards at one point, and they were so intricate and complicated, but they just came out gorgeous. But part of what made them look so beautiful was the addition of that beautiful 3D element. Because I mean, you just don't see that very often. Now, of course, those are cards that really can't be mailed because they did weigh a lot, but they were gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. I was so excited when I got one for my birthday because I didn't make them. But I saw them and I was like, oh, this is so pretty, so pretty. What you've done here is amazing. And she's really funny because she takes a lot of my classes, but she won't give me a card on a like if I taught her the technique. And I'm like, oh, that's so much work to have to go and do something else. I mean, I'm super glad, but I mean, I love seeing what people do with something that I've taught them. If you ever want to leave a down in the comments, if you want to leave a picture of the artwork that you've created, I'd love to see it. Mhm. Yeah, I think it's really exciting. It's very flattering. But I'm like, oh, you poor girl, like that's a lot of have to work. And she gets quite worried. I can't give you a card that you showed me how to do. And I'm like, I don't know why it's lovely. I love seeing that you can use it. So please do. Yeah, I'd love to see that you've actually utilized the technique because often I end up having to go back and there's so many things that I teach that when I come back to these, it's like I love going back to the techniques that I know and that sometimes because I spend so much time doing things for YouTube, I don't always have time to go back to my favorite techniques or I'll forget about them because I'm always thinking about what is the next thing? What is the next thing? What else can we do? What else can we do? And so it's which I think most instructors do. And but it's really, it's a lovely reminder to be like, oh, I remember when we did that. That's such a fun technique. Okay, I'm going to do that again. So it's nice to see. I mean, not that any card isn't lovely, but anyway, so going back to the point. Sorry guys, I just total squirrel. Yeah, it's just it's a gorgeous card. So that extra detailing, I mean, and it's not an easy detail to be doing either, right? Like it takes a long time to dry and yeah, so but it's definitely one of those cards that has to be hand delivered because it did weigh. Yeah. Well, I mean, you could mail it, but you'd probably have to pay for extra postage. Okay, so I'm getting down to the end of the pile here of my slightly darker blue. So I'm going to pick it up so that I'm scraping everything that's off there. And I know what I have left because I want to kind of measure out now where am I adding this slightly darker color too. Some of it's going on top of the first opaque blue, but some of it is going into its own special spots where I can see where there is the slightly darker navy color. Because I think that that's really going to pop really nicely because it will have this bit of shine and sheen to it because of the type of texture paste that we used, right? Let's put that off to the back here. So a big spot right there. Stick that down and sticking and smudging, sticking and smudging. Might have to name this video that. Sticking and smudging. Okay. A little bit more into this guy here. Right there. Like so. We're down in this area. A little bit more right there. Okay, where else have I not gotten? I think I want a little bit more on top of this here. Like that. Okay, sorry guys, I gotta lift it up so I can see it because it's got quite a glare from my light. Okay, I'm pretty happy in this area here. I think I do need a squidgy bit more onto this area right there. So there's just enough to kind of scrape it off of my knife. Just kind of add it in right in there. Just on top of that. There we go. Oh, this is so cool. Seeing that opaque area there is already almost dry. So I'm going to move this to the side. So I'll give you guys a bit of a look here. Look at that. How cool is that? So pretty. All right. So I'm going to move that to the side here and I'm going to give my tools a quick wipe. Maybe. I might have to pull out a new clean baby wipe here. Try to use my baby wipes as much as I can before I throw them away because, you know, technically it's not the best for what do you call it? Like conservationism or it's not but it does get the job done, I will say. Try to use them as much as I can until I can't. And then I pull out a clean one to do the whole surface, but this is good enough for this kind of thing right now, right? All right. Now I'm not sure. Okay, yeah, we've been going pretty long time. So I'm hoping you guys get the idea. Maybe I'll try and mix one more and just do a little bit of the pink. I'll do the slightly darker color because I don't think I'm going to do the opaque on the pink. I'm just going to do some twinkle. Okay. And I'm gonna fill that all up here. That. Get this one. Go. This way, then I can actually finish the artwork, take a picture, and post. But yeah, if you guys are good to hang on, maybe fast forward to the end of the video if you want to see what it looks like. Totally get that, no problem. If you want to see again how we're mixing things, because I mean we've now done it 4 times, but if you still want to see what that is, then just hang on here. We'll do one more, I think. I don't think I need another color in there. I think that one should be good enough. So we do a little bit of pink. You all know pink is not necessarily my favorite, so we're going to work with this though. And let's give this a wipe so that we're not contaminating our pink with the blue that was just down. So I want to make sure my surface is clean enough here. There we go. Okay. So in terms of the colors of the pink, because I want to do one of these colors, I am thinking that in order to get it to pop the most, the color that I'm going to use is the cocktail, which is this really bright, kind of like almost like a hot pink color, right? Because I think I could get it into a couple of these areas of the roses and just call it good so that they're not quite so flat. I don't think that I need to add anything more to that. I think that will be enough. So that'll be good. Okay, so that was, what did I just say? I said it was cocktail. Yeah, cocktail party. Okay. So I'm gonna give it a that's the opaque. That's the twinkle. Twinkle, twinkle, twinkle. Twinkly doo, twinkly doo. And I don't think I'm going to need very much because there's not a lot of pink there. So I'll go with, yeah, we'll just go with that. That's fine. All right. So the other thing that I could do if I wanted is I could take my spray stain and just kind of pick a little bit of that up and add, a couple down here. But I think I'm mostly just going to stick with the cocktail party because I'm just going to keep that color um, and just have that be my main color. And but I do want it to be fairly intense. So again, I'm going to add quite a bit. Well, I mean, really, it's not really a lot because I'm just scooping it again from my sprayer here. I'm not doing anything too much to it, but I do want it to be a good pink to it, right? All right, so now I'm gonna use this guy and I'm gonna start moving my texture paste into uh my ink, right? My dye. So I'm gonna start moving it around. I want the consistency, and see, I've kind of squished that around there. I want the consistency before I pick it up. I want it to kind of have mixed enough that it's not liquid when I pick it up, but that most of the ink or most of the color dye, whatever you want to call it, has been kind of incorporated enough that it's not runny, it's not sitting on here. So I think that so far has seemed to be the most successful while I'm using these slightly more watery inks, right? Or dyes or whatever you want to call it. Okay. So now I'm going to pop that off and you can still see there is still some white that was showing in there. So it's good that I'm kind of picking this up, moving it around a little bit, smoochy, smoochy, smoochy. And now I'm going to pick that up onto my palette knife here. And I'm actually just because there's not a ton and I've only got a few spots. I'm going to pick all of it up and we'll go with that. Okay. Yep. All right. So first of all, I'm going to pull in. So we've got a few swipes of pink right here. So I want to make sure that I am going to get these little areas. So I've got a little swipe of pink right there, and I've got a little bit right there. And I've got just a little bit in this area, like that. So again, it's just about pulling in where have you got some of these colors, right? So I've got a little bit of pink right there. I want to catch kind of like oops, that's a little much on the palette knife there. I want to catch the darker areas and build up my color in there a little bit, and then I can kind of pull it out if I need to, if I want to thin it or whatever, or try and give it a little bit of movement. Um, I personally find that a little difficult using my palette knife because, again, I am not totally proficient with it, but that's okay. Nobody's saying that I need to be because I'm playing and playing with my supplies because I don't know about you, but I have so many. This is another good way, like I said, of using what you've already got. So check and see what you've got. You could do something like this actually. If you've got stunning, what's the word? If you don't buy the digital download or the artwork, you might already have some artwork. Maybe you got something that you like a print or something that you really love from the dollar store, but it's a little flat, or from a thrift store. This is a phenomenal way to add some texture and kind of zhuzh it up again and make it look more expensive than maybe what you paid for, right? Something else that you could use. Maybe you've got designer paper. You're like me and you spent years. Oh, that's a nice piece of paper. I just have to have that. And I have stacks of very nice paper. You could do the same thing, adhere it to canvas and using Mod Podge or white glue. White glue works great. If you don't have Mod Podge, just water it down again. I would use distilled water, not tap water, because again, you don't want it to grow funk on it, or mold or something like that. That would not be great. But yeah, mix it. I think it's 1 to 1 or 2 to 1, but try it out. You want it to be thin enough to move, but thick enough to hold. right? My friend Jenny used to do that, and she would make her own Mod Podge, and I mean, it's fairly inexpensive. I mean, it's inexpensive to buy Mod Podge already, but if you've already got, you've got kids at home that have, in their school supplies, they've got Elmer's white glue. That's all you need. So you're halfway there. The only thing you would need to get is the texture paste, choosing which one you want. And so, Amazon, your local craft store, big box stores may carry it. I don't know about Hobby Lobby. I know Michael's used to carry it, but I don't know if they still do. Your local craft store. Yeah, and can't do that, then Amazon has it. But again, try and order it before the winter. If you're in a winter area, like you get freezing and whatever, because you don't want this to um you don't want this to freeze, right? Because it'll ruin the consistency and the texture, and you won't be able to get anything out, which would suck. And then just, yeah, use whatever inks you have at home. Because I think, I was going to say this earlier, but I forgot. I think that you could even technically, if you were to pull out, let's say your kids have Crayola paints, watercolor paints at home. If you were to scrape out the paint, like while it's dry, or even like wet it and pull out some, that will mix into these because it is dye-based. It is water-based, dye-based ink. So that will work. You might have to add quite a bit to get a intense color, but it will work without having to buy extra supplies kind of thing. So you don't have to buy the fancy inks and the things like that. And, good for you if you don't, because I have a problem. Anyway, yeah. So oh yeah. See, now this pink, even though I don't really like pink, look at what it has done though to the edge, like to the rest of our artwork, that it now you can see all of those textures and those highlights, how well that has added in that extra little bit, right? Like, yeah, I don't think it would have looked as nice if we hadn't added in that little bit of shine and those little bits of pink in those areas where it was missing. So I've got a little bit more on my on my palette knife here. So I'm going to come in here where there's still that nice deep, kind of deepy red color here. And just add my pink into that. Again, have I missed any other spots? I don't know. Can I get a little bit more off of there? Because I do like that center there. All right. Okay. So now I'm going to clean off my palettes. Palette knives again. Use my baby wipe. Now, let's see. Okay, clean on the top. And let's do this one. All right. So I have, as I've said, I have three pieces that I have prepared, right? So let me, sorry. Distracted. I gotta clean up my mess here first before I stick something in it, because we know that'll happen. So I went in, I chose the artwork that I thought I could do this with. If you saw the previous video where I did the gnome houses, like the summer lake life, there were some really beautiful lake pieces that had water in them that were brush strokes, just like this. That I thought would be really lovely as well. But I chose to demo this particular one because it fit with, and it's a new example of it. But the Lake Life ones had the same palette knife swipe look to it. So that would work, right? So whatever piece of artwork you have that you think you could make work with this, give it a go. If you've got some, like I said, designer paper, now I will probably go in, I think, and I'm going to flood these three areas, this one, and this one, with my glossy accents, just so that that part is shiny. I don't think I'm going to add any of the pearls or anything like that, but I want it to feel like it's centered, because that kind of sits off to itself there. So I will be doing that, but in the meantime, this is the project. And let me grab, what did I do with the other ones? Oh yeah, they should be stuck down. Hang on a second here. They should be dry now. Okay, so these are the ones that I started with, right? So this is the first one that I stuck down. Okay, so you can see here, it's now dried enough that I could trim it and then go in with my Sharpie and then I'll Mod Podge on top of it to make sure that it's well sealed. So that'll be the next step, and then I'll add onto that. But you can see here, my process will be the same as I'll add a little bit of depth and shine to these pieces here, focusing on that. And then here is the second one that I showed you. This is the one that I showed you how we cut it out. And then I sealed it again with Mod Podge. And this one even has like some really beautiful, like these are so big that I could actually take my opaque, like my texture paste, pick it up on my finger and kind of just and draw it in on a few places, which is probably what I will do on this one. But yeah, you can see here, my intent is to have this really lovely set of three for my friend. So I'm gonna, that's what it's gonna look like. So, and then on these, so this one, these two could be framed if need be. I'll probably finish this one with a little bit of designer paper, or I might even just paint the whole back of it black, which would work well as well. But these can also have like just a command strip or something just to stick it onto the wall. But yeah, that I'm really happy with how it has turned out. It's been a fun play, something that like I said, I've never tried before. Let me know what your thoughts are. Do you think you would give this a go and see what happens? Yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Please, by all means, please give me a comment in the down below. Like, comment, subscribe to the video, click the bell notification so you see when I do post new videos. I'm still have been able to manage doing it every second Wednesday. So every 2 weeks on Wednesday, there's a new video that comes out. So yay me. That's been now a year and a half, I think I've been managing that. Um, yeah, so remember to keep it kind, share to a friend as well. I'm, always looking for more people into the community. That would be really lovely. My link to buy me a coffee, if you are interested, if you've enjoyed the video and feel like donating a little something for the class and you enjoyed it, please feel free to follow the link. Any little bit helps, but again, you're not obligated at all. That's only if you feel called to and really enjoyed the video. That link will be in the description as well. In the meantime, I will see you guys later. Please check out Mr. Matt's Mixed Media. His link for this particular package will be in the description as well. And I will see you all in the next video. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.